successfully cope with the latest economic crisis? First of all, thank you so much, Professor Shin, for your time today.
My pleasure.
Now, we would love to hear your insight regarding the economy, and I think we have to start in Europe, right? And when we talk Europe, we're thinking Greece. Let's first talk about what do you think is the likelihood of Greece exiting the Eurozone?
You know, the Greek economy itself is not very big. In fact, in terms of GDP of the Greece, out of total Eurozone member countries, their portion is just about 3%. Actually, it was about 3% as the end of 2011. If the Greece exit from the Eurozone, maybe that can be a kind of the blow to the European economy. What I mean is that when you look at the trade structure among EU member countries, the EU member countries have the more than 0.5% of total trade with the other European countries. What I mean, intra-trade portion out of the total trade volume of the European countries is very high. Mm-hmm. So if the Greek economy is in trouble, definitely there will be the additional the negative impacts on the European countries. So for the European countries, which has the very weak fundamental, industrial fundamentals, it can be a kind of the big blow which they cannot overcome. Right. That means that we can easily expect there will be the domino effects of crisis in European countries.
Right. A lot of people estimating that the economic damages if Greece does exit could amount to 1 trillion euros, right? Mm-hmm. Well, let's think then on the other side of the coin. Mm-hmm. What if Greece stays? What if it keeps the euro as its currency? What are problems that would arise then?
Well, that is still a problem for the European countries. If you look at the economic structure of Greece, we can get an answer. Out of total GDP, exports takes a very small portion. That means that we can say that Greek does not have any, not strong industrial fundamentals. So under such a kind of conditions, in fact, even though they managed to overcome, this crisis, the next question is that to maintain the dynamism in their economic development, they need more money. Then the question is, who will give the money to the Greece? Because the Greek economy lost their credibility in the financial market already. So it will be very difficult for them to get the money, which is very needed for them to revitalize their economy.
Well, it's unfortunate because helping Greece alone is already an issue, but we also have Spain that has requested for 100 billion euro bailout. Can we say Spain is the next Greece?
Already we saw some bank runs and some problems happening in Spain. This is time for us to think about how we can deal with this situation. Because of to find a solution to this problem, as you know very well, the European leaders have met together more than 17, 18 times, but regretfully they failed to find a solution. I think that would be one of the difficulties, which the European countries should have to overcome. What I mean is that at the moment we can find big differences in between the stance and dealing with these issues between the Germany and the France. Mm-hmm. Well, as the German government has been emphasized the need of so-called austerity policy to deal with this case. However, the French government, a newly elected president, Mr. Hollande, he said that he emphasized the importance of the growth-oriented the policy in order to find a solution to this issue. I think this is a big problem for the European member countries.
Right.
I think.
We have a European Council meeting scheduled for later this month in terms of what kind of measures they can craft to try to alleviate the situation. It sounds like there are certain measures being crafted, but it's really a matter of seeing eye to eye. Mm-hmm.
I think many experts already suggested issuing the euro bonds as the only one remaining tool to solve this problem. However, about this issue, Germany has been strongly against, while the European countries empathize the adoption of this policy. The reason why Germany is against is our German government has already
soaked up a lot of the burden there.
Money, and then so if additionally they issue more Eurobonds, that means that the Germany should take more financial burden. If something happened, I mean, if the Greece exit from the Eurozone and because of that the European economy would be depressed, then the Germany should have to pay back the debts as much as the amount of the Eurobonds which will be issued by the European Central Bank of Europe. So certainly I think to compromise the big differences on this issue between among the leaders in Europe will be the most the important step which they have to take in order to find a solution to this problem, I think.
Mm-hmm. Let's leave Europe then. Unfortunately, we also have weak prospects for China and the United States. How would you say the world markets are reacting to these two countries and their status?
Well, we have to focus on the economic relationship between the U.S. and Europe and between China and Europe. Actually, for U.S. and China, even Brazil, the European market has been one of the largest destinations of their exports. But because of the financial crisis which hit the European countries, the demand for their products in Europe has been reduced dramatically. Subsequently, recovering trends in U.S. has been slowed down for the last several months. And in China, which has a nickname as like the global factory, they had also some negative impact from the European financial crisis. So to overcome those kind of difficulties, they even lowered the key interest rate very recently. I think so. What I mean is that actually, because of the European financial crisis, every country in the world are not free from the impact from the financial crisis in Europe, I think.
Speaking of the U.S., we saw slow job growth for 3 straight months already, actually, with May being the third month there. 20, 30 years in the future looks like it's going to be rough for the U.S. Some are even saying it may no longer be the top economic powerhouse. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, I agree with that opinion. And U.S. is no longer a number one powerhouse in the world because of the European Union emerged as one of the superpower in the world, and then even several developing economies such as China, along with the Japan in Asia. So the economic leadership has been changed from monopolistic structure to oligopolistic structure. So we can say that the U.S. Cannot maintain its number one the status in the global economy, but they will still remain as one of the very influential player in the world. And about the unemployment index in U.S., as you pointed out, for the last 3 months consecutively, the unemployment index has been deteriorating in U.S., particularly in May. Unlike the expectation, according to the expectation, about 150,000 new jobs should be created in May, but unlike this expectation, only 640,000 jobs were created. So this shows very clearly how the serious impact the U.S. economy got from the external factors, the financial crisis in Europe. So considering all of these, certainly the European financial crisis, has given already huge negative impact on the almost every countries around the world. And I think these kind of trends is expected to continue for a while because as I mentioned very briefly, European leaders have failed to find a solution to this crisis. So without finding some solution to this crisis, actually, I think this crisis would be continued for a while, I think. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the domino effect leading to the cause or the state we're in now and the future domino effects expected. With so many countries intertwined, I think it's clear that different countries need to work together to find a solution. Mm-hmm. What would you recommend? And also, in your opinion, how long do you think this is going to prolong for?
Mm-hmm. That is a very important question, I think. Right now, due to the globalization, owing to the development of transportation and telecommunication, actually the world became very smaller than before. and something happen in a country can directly affect the other countries. In this context, the financial crisis in Europe has given very negative impact to almost every nation around the world. What I mean is that any nation is not free from the impact of the financial crisis in Europe. So, considering these aspects, I think the global economy will, will be hurted. Will have some difficulties in get recovery from the crisis for a while. It will take us some time. And particularly to find a solution, actually, we have to work together. But the first step should be taken by the European countries themselves first, and then to maximize their effectiveness of their policy to overcome the financial crisis. The cooperation with other big economies such as U.S. and China and Brazil and other developing economies will be also very important. So in conclusion, I think the cooperation among member countries, particularly in developing new physical policy or new financial policy, the cooperation among member countries will be very, very essential. And then along with the national level efforts, the international financial organizations such as World Bank and IMF should maximize their role in finding a solution to this kind of international financial crisis, I think.
Well, we have a lot of things to look forward to. We have the Greece elections, and like we mentioned, the European Council meeting. Hopefully different countries will, like you said, cooperate together to work and find a solution. But thank you very much, Professor Shin, for your time and insight today.
Well, it was a great pleasure for me to be with you today, and then I hope we can meet together after seeing the full recovery of the financial crisis in the world.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.